Adab and welcome. I'm Aditya and you're watching The Indian Atheist.
Namaskar, Adab and welcome. I'm Aditya and you're watching The Indian Atheist. Some people have a really weird idea of atheism. They think atheism is somehow fashionable and voguish, and all you gotta do to become an atheist is just admit that God doesn't exist. That's not atheism, it's called common sense. And while common sense rarely hurts, what does indeed hurt the atheist cause is atheists believing in all sorts of quackery, indulging notions like the master race, for instance. I've taken the liberty, therefore, to put together a list of 10 types of stupid who no serious atheist would suffer gladly. There's also another way to look at this list. You can theoretically define a thing or an idea by stating what it's not, just as well as by stating what it is. The only requirement of a definition being that it not be self-referential. So you can think of this as a list of things that atheism is not. Hopefully it'll help you zero in on what atheism really is. So here's 5 types of atheists who I assure you have next to nothing to do with atheism.
You're not an atheist if you politically identify with the right.
I know, deciphering exactly where you are on the socio-political spectrum is a daunting task. For a long time I thought there's just the left and the right and that's it. Turns out it's not quite that easy. There's the conservatives proper and there's the fiscal conservatives. There are liberals, libertarians, neoliberals and the classical liberals. There are socialists, communists, Marxists, neo-Marxists and post-Marxists and many other types of Marxists. In fact, it's come to the point that the number of different types of Marxism may very well exceed the total number of Marxists out there. Moving on, there are modernists, postmodernists, post-postmodernists, post-post-postmodernists, post-post-post-postmodernists and so on and so forth. Then there's the radical left and the extreme right and the anarchists and the nihilists and other fringe stuff. And finally, there's whatever the hell this guy is. Some have even proposed 2 or 3 dimensional political spectrums to make sense of this beautiful mess. I'm sure that a paper on 11-dimensional space of political opinions is being written somewhere right now. It's quite complicated, really. So when I say left-wing or right-wing, I'm talking left and right in a very general, very crude sense, and I'm assuming you know what that is. Here's my point. While an atheist may not always be aligned with a particular leftist ideology on every socio-political issue, atheism is not even on the same plane as conservative, right-wing kind of thinking. I know it's a sweeping statement, and we'll talk more about it in a separate video, but for now, take my word for it. Or don't. But if you do, it follows that the intersection of atheists and right-wingers is what's called a null set, or there's no such thing set. Let me repeat, there's no such thing as a right-winger atheist. The reason for this is simple. An atheist typically becomes an atheist by learning to challenge the status quo, whereas a right-winger or a conservative embraces the status quo. It's perfectly safe to say that someone who claims to be an atheist and harbors an affinity towards the majoritarian, right-wing populist views simply has not wrapped their head around atheism. A classic example is Hitler, who most emphatically was not an atheist. Another contemporaneous example from India is Savarkar, who many Indians mistakenly believe to have been an atheist. No, he wasn't, for the same reason that Hitler wasn't one either. Pardon me? No, hold your horses now. I'm not comparing Savarkar to Hitler. That would be ridiculous. Hitler couldn't write poetry, could he?
You're not an atheist if you are apolitical.
Oh, come on. You're not apolitical, let alone an atheist.
You can fool yourself and everyone else, but you can't fool me.
Atheists who identify as apolitical or moderate or centrist are visiting members of the aforementioned null set, except they're also highly trained in what's called the fine art of fence-sitting. It cannot be the case, especially in today's political climate, that you genuinely can't decide or that you don't have enough data. It's not that you can't decide, but it's that A, you won't decide, which is not only lazy but incredibly selfish and irresponsible, or B, you secretly root for the left, but you're afraid of the persecution and the backlash from your family and friends, which is highly unlikely because, for one, this is India, not Pakistan or the Middle East, and second, you already came out as an atheist. What can be worse than that? Or is it C, and here's where I'd place my bets, you're actually a closeted right-winger, but you won't come out because you know that a direct association with the populist right is at least mildly embarrassing, and so you're more than happy to let the hapless masses take the blame for all the extreme right rhetoric, while you, Mr. Apolitical Atheist, reap the benefits of the status quo behind the scenes. And that is why all of your political arguments go like this. I'm not a supporter of the current ruling dispensation, but well, you can drop the act now. Because guess what? Any atheist worth of salt can see through you in 2 minutes flat. All due respect to your fence-sitting skills, but it's as good a time as any to pick a damn side. What are you waiting for? Another Holocaust or something? Go order a spine if you don't have one, a spine of the metaphorical variety, of course, and for once in your life, stand up for something, anything other than your sorry self.
You're not an atheist if you say stuff like the country comes first all the time.
If I had $1 for every time I heard that. The country comes first, huh? Right. Yeah, the country comes first. The country comes first. Yeah. Sure thing. Wait, what does it mean though? I mean, I can understand it if you said that the greater good comes first. That I can live with. It's debatable, but still I can understand it. But when you say the country comes first, it sure sounds like you're saying that you come first and that you want to exclude some people also of this country from having their voices heard. So tell me, what do you mean the country comes first? Oh, you mean the interests of the country come before the interests of her people? Nah, that doesn't make sense, does it? Well, fortunately, I have a bunch of thoughts. No, I literally have a bunch of thoughts, as in the book called Bunch of Thoughts, also known as the Handbook of Indian Right-Wing Rhetoric. Let's go ahead and consult this massively scholarly work written by one Mr. Golwalkar. The country comes first, the country comes first. Yep, got it. Says here that the country comes first is another way of saying that soldiers are dying on the border.
What the
Hey, I'm kidding. Bunch of Thoughts don't say that. It's not a book of hollow, meaningless sentences. It's a bunch of thoughts. Mr. Bhagwat, I swear to God, I got no beef with you or yours. Just with a bunch of your thoughts. Wait, and just so we're clear, I'm not talking about actual beef. I have no beef in my home, okay? I'm trying to be a vegan actually. It's not working so far, but I'm trying. Meanwhile, yo, country first or atheist. The country is an umbrella term, okay? Just don't use it willy-nilly whenever you think it fits your narrative. It likely doesn't. And it kind of has the opposite effect in that it devalues the words and the sentiment. Not that it's very useful to begin with, but whatever. The country may or may not come first depending on what it is you're referring to as your country. And soldiers do die on the border, and that is as sad as can be. But if you have to say that in the middle of an argument that has nothing to do with the country or the soldiers, you've already lost the f***ing argument. Plus, it's a really shitty thing to say, using soldiers' deaths and whatnot to prop up what usually is an otherwise entirely untenable position, atheist or not. Please don't do that. It's very crude and very vulgar, and not in a good way.
You're not an atheist if you're not a feminist.
Alright, this is a twofer. Let's look at the first part. For reasons that we'll cover in a separate video, the atheist naturally identifies as a feminist. If you're an atheist and for some inexplicable reason not a feminist, you need to reconsider what made you an atheist in the first place. What do you think atheism is? You think it's some kind of a cool club where, so long as you don't believe in God, anything goes, where you can hang out with your cool friends after a hard day's work and drink beer and, casually whine about how women are abusing their newfound independence and how that's making life so very difficult for you. I hate to break it to you, man, but it's not that kind of a club. And atheists are pretty good at sniffing out misogyny from miles away. You only think you're hiding yours well. You're not. Now, the second part. If you are a feminist but not an atheist, you've chosen, for whatever reasons, to endorse religion, which is, only the most effective tool for the oppression of women in the history of humankind. I have no frickin' idea how you reconcile that big-ass contradiction with your feminism. You might as well be a men's rights activist while you're at it, why don't you? Tell me one major religion out of the hundreds that have appeared over the course of human history. Tell me a single religion that did not actively try to curb women's rights. Religion is and has always been squarely a man's business, for God's sakes. It's like an all-male movie, where most of the characters are male, all the actors are male. Men write it, men design the sets, men direct it, men produce it, and men distribute it. All that's left for a woman to do is just sit through 2 hours of this god-awful sausage fest, except it's not 2 hours, but more like 2 millennia. So you want to stay religious and fight for women's rights? Sure, go ahead, more power to you. But know that in a small way, you're betraying your own cause. Just a little bit.
A little bit you did.
You're not an atheist if you think you're a Virgo.
Well, this one's easy. I mean, zodiac signs? Really? How is that? Oh, it. Why even? You're not an atheist, dude. Not even by a mile. Don't kid yourself. And by the way, the same goes for astrology, numerology, horoscope, Vastu Shastra, Feng Shui, dowsing, tarot card reading, and what else? Yep, acupuncture, aromatherapy, naturopathy, homeopathy, a large array of treatments in Ayurveda, transcendental meditation, quantum consciousness and other quantum mysticism mumbo-jumbo, this fucking book, and last but not the least, the ancient Hindu passenger aircraft called Pushpak. Not that one. Nope, not that one either. The other one. Yep, that's the one. An exhaustive list of the topics characterized as pseudoscience is available on Wikipedia, by the way, if you're curious. Not that Wikipedia is the last word on anything, but hey, it's a hell of a lot more accurate than the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Bible and the Quran and the Torah and what have you put together. Was that? Have I read the Vedas? Have I read the Veda? Have you read Wikipedia? It's new. Tell me, you won't buy a freaking smartphone that's more than a couple months old, but you'd willingly buy into laughably inaccurate and morally suspect scriptures that are more than a couple thousand years old? Why? That's it for today. In the second part of this video, we'll look at some more fake atheists, including the climate change denier atheist, the homophobic atheist, and the king of them all, the Hindu atheist. If you have some more time, do watch our introduction episode where I try to explain what this channel is all about in a highly questionable accent that just won't quit. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Dhanyawad, Shukriya.